So to find the standard deviation, we have 6 steps total. Step number 1 is we're going to find the mean, right? So for the mean, we know the mean, the symbol is this mu. So I already asked you to cross this one out because I have it twice. That's the reason I have it twice, okay? And then I replace with that mu. So that is, this one is the mu, this symbol. That is the step number 1. That is step number 1, okay? So that's step number 1. So if you want to draw the arrow, you may. If you don't want to draw the arrow, then that is fine. This is step 1. You find the average. So, or if you can think of this, for all of these steps, it's going to build on top of each other. So the first step, you have a single symbol. The second step, you're going to have a little bit more. So you have one more symbol. This is step 2. Or you want to draw the arrow. This is step 2. You find the deviation. You find the difference. The reason I want you to have this because I'll give you the hint when you do practice. When I'm giving that table, you should see the steps. You should recognize what do you have to do with that. I'll give you those symbols. I'm not going to type out in words, but you should see the symbol that should help you. Okay. So notice I start with the mu, the mean, and then I subtract. So now for the number 3, it's going to be a little bit more. I'm going to add another symbol to it. So this is step 3 right here. So if you want to draw the arrow, that's step 3. Okay, and then when we get to step 4, you're going to add another symbol. So think about it, it's just layer after layer, right? If you may not remember, but this is the order you can think of. Okay, I start with something simple. I add another symbol. I add another one. I add another one. So for each steps, you add a new symbol to it. So step number 4, which is the sum. The keyword is the sum, which is over here. That notation right here, this is summation. That's a total. Okay. And then step 5, you divide by n. So look in here, the one that you divide by n is this step, number 5. And then step number 6, this is the one that's saying find the square root. So the keyword is square root. So in here, this is step number 6. So sometimes you may not remember the symbol, but in there, the keyword is telling you the mean is say find the deviation or the difference. Number 3 is you square it. Square it means to the second power. Number 4, sum means the total. And number 5, tell you divide by n. Number 6, you take the square root. So those are the 6 steps, and we already finished with population standard deviation calculations. A lot of you did not email me your work. You told me that you emailed me the work, but you didn't. Okay? So if you have not emailed me the work, make sure you email me the work today. If you still want that point, email it to me today. The one who started it in Paradox, you are good to go. I already gave you credits. So I have like one student remember to email me the work from last class. That was slide, I believe slide 17. I gave you that table and I asked you to create, to find the population standard deviation. So question for me on the steps so far. Sorry. All right, so let's do a quick review of, Let's do a review of standard deviations, the population standard deviation. We did that. What we're going to focus on today is the sample standard deviation. Okay, that's the key word. So it's different. So you want to pay attention to, okay, one, it's no problem. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at sample standard deviation. not population, sample. The keyword is sample. Okay, so for the sample, the notation gonna be different. The steps is gonna be the same. The step is gonna be the same. The only thing is the notation is gonna be different. So for example, a couple of things gonna be different is that the mean, the notation for the sample is X with a bar on top. Okay, so that's the difference. Everything else gonna be the same. Most of them should be the same. The only thing different is the notation for the mean is changed. Instead of the U, now it's X with the bar on the top. And then for the N, instead of capital N, it's gonna be a regular N. It's not gonna be a capital N, okay? And then the sample standard deviation, instead of mu, it's just the letter S. So these notation is changed for the sample deviation, standard deviation. So a couple things change. The mean is gonna be a different symbol. It's the X with the bar on the top. The population, instead of capital N, now it's just the regular N, okay? Instead of the sigma that we use for standard deviation, we use just the S. The steps are the same. I'm doing the same thing. I'm not changing anything. Step number 1, still find the mean. Step number 2, still find the difference. Step number 3, I have square it. Step number 4, I add all of them. Step number 5, divide whatever I got from step 4 with the total. And step 6, still take the, not derivative, I'm sorry. Still take the square root. So the 6 steps is not going to change, but just the notation change, okay? So let's take a look at this example. Okay. We're gonna, for this one, we're not gonna do for the time that we have. I'm gonna cross out a bunch of numbers in here. Let's cross out these numbers. We're just gonna focus on the first 5. Okay, let's focus on the first 5 so that we're not gonna spend too much time on do the work. So let's do 5. The keyword is a sample, so step number 1 is still the same as the population standard deviation. Step number 1, I still want to find the average, which is the mean. So don't panic. The steps is just the same. The notation change. So if you understand population standard deviation, it should be okay now. If you didn't know, if you forgot population standard deviation, this should be a good review for you to remember the steps, okay? So I'm going to find the total. So 41 plus 38 plus 39 plus 45 plus 47. That's give me 210. All right, I'm going to share the link. There you go. All right, so if I find the total with 210 and then I divide by 5, my average is 42. If you don't know how to find the average or the mean, let me know. Another thing is, remember the N, instead of capital N, this one is just the regular N, which is the lowercase n, which is 5, because I have 5 numbers, okay? So I'm doing the same thing. The deviation, same thing. I'm taking 41 minus 42, give me -1. If I square it, give me 1. So notice the step, nothing changed. 38 minus 42 give me -4. If I square -4, that give me 16. Then I will do the next one, 39 minus 42, that give me -3. -3 squared, that give me 9. It's the same. So I'm doing this. Sorry, go ahead. Population, yes. So remember, you have two different groups to look at. Population is the entire group. I will survey every single one. Sample, I'm just survey part of that group, not the entire group. So the standard deviation is going to be different a little bit. The number may change a little bit, okay? So 45 minus 42, but the steps going to be pretty much the same. 45 minus 42 is 3, so 3 square, that's 9. 47 minus 42, that is 5. 5 square, that's 25. So those are the first 3 steps. Step 1, step 2, and then step 3. So I'm going to go over this a little bit fast because we already did these steps with population standard deviation, so nothing changed. Okay? Question so far? Something bothering you and you need me to remind you. Okay. So step number 4 is that it's a total. So I'm going to add every single thing from step 3. Okay. So 1 plus 16 plus 9 plus 9 again plus 25. This gives me, the sum is 60. So that's step number 4. I'm adding every single number that I have from step 3. That's how I got this 60 right here. Okay. I'm going to pause for you. If you need to take a picture, you need to copy this down, do so before I finish up this problem. So be careful. This one I'm talking about sample standard deviation. So there's something going to change a little bit beside the notation. There's one thing going to change, and you want to pay attention to that. Yes, as well. When we do practice, I will turn it to student pace. Okay. All right, let's get to step 5. Remember step 5, I will take whatever I have from step 4, which is 60, and remember we divide by n, right? However, because this one is sample standard deviation, so instead of just the n, it's going to be n minus 1. Why minus 1 but not any other number? I honestly don't know. I don't have a good explanation why minus 1. But it will be minus 1. So I will have 60 by minus 1, 60 over 4. What is this going to give me? Divide by 4, give me 15. So that's the difference compared to the population standard deviation. Population standard deviation, I'm just divide by n. Sample standard deviation, I just n minus 1, so it's going to be 1 less. If I have 5 number, it's going to be 5 minus 1. If I have 10 number, then 10 minus 1. I'm going to divide by that number. Question, because this step is different. If it's confused you, let me know. I'm going to highlight the part that you want to pay attention to, like this. So, okay? Okay. Sorry, someone was asking a question? Okay. So the last step, which is the same thing, I'm taking square root of step number 5, which is square root of 15. So this would give me square root of 15 is 3.87. And this is the answer. Okay, how did I find 42? How I find 42? What I did was I add all of these numbers because that's the average. So I'm taking 41 plus 38 plus 39 plus 45 plus 47. That gave me 210. And then I divide by 5 because there are 5 numbers. So this 42 is the average. So 42 is the average. I add all the numbers that I just highlight in blue. I add them up and then divide by 5 because I have 5 numbers. Okay. All right, John, there's a link in the chat for you, so go ahead and join Paradox. Question for me on how to find the sample standard deviation. So there's one thing. How about step 5? So for step 5, you could have questions about the number 60 or the bottom. Which one? So for step 5, I'm taking the number. You see from step 4, I have 60, right? So the bottom is, notice I have 5 number total. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my n is 5 because I have 5 number. But because of this one is a sample standard deviation, you always take, it's going to be 1 less, right? So it's n minus 1. Remember the last time we take n, we just divide by n. But for the sample, we just have to take that number minus 1. So in here for n, I have 5 numbers. So I'm taking 5 minus 1. That's how I get 4. So if you have 10 numbers total, then I would minus 1. If I have 8 number given to me, then it's going to be 8 minus 1. So it's whatever that given to you over here, this n, this n is always 1 less than that value. So you always divide by that 1 less than. Okay, it's always minus 1. Okay. Other questions? So I have step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's really good. For the one who asked me a question, you was really clear, like, I'm not sure in step 5. I need question in step 3. So that's helped. Good. Okay. Then let's do a little bit more practice. Let's do another example. Okay. In here, I have steps listed for you. Okay. So it's there. So the practice that you're going to do today, the steps is going to be there for you. You just have to follow the step. You just have to understand what I'm saying from the notation. So step number 1 is say x bar is mean find the mean. Okay. How do you find the mean? Look in here. I have these number. I'm going to add them up 4. And then so I'm going to have 50 plus 55 plus 50 again plus 60 plus 54 plus 56. That gave me, that gave me 325. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 number. I divide by 6. That's give me the average, which is 54. I want 2 decimal place, so that's going to be 1, 7. Okay, so that's how I find the average. I'm going to clear this one. Now, one thing that I want you to pay attention is that I have n is 6. There are 6 numbers. So that's why I label n is 6. Are we okay with step 1? Okay. We're going to move on to step 2. What do we do with step 2? You remember what you have to do with step 2. Yes, that is correct. So I will have 50 take away 54.17. So 50 minus 54.17, this gives me equal to negative 4 0.17. Notice I will do step 2 and 3 at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and square it. So that would give me 17.39. So note it's in here, square it. So I will square that one. And then I will continue to do the same thing for the next number. 55 minus 54.17. That's give you 0.83. And go ahead and square it. That would give you 0.69. 2 decimal place, okay? The next one is 50. You see this number 50 is already done for you. I know the difference is negative 4.17 or 1739. So it's the same number, then I don't have to do it again. It's there. I just have to list it out. 60 minus 54.17. Unfortunately, most of the number that you get will end up with decimal. It's rarely that you have a nice number, but you can do it. So I square it, that gives me 33.99. Then I will move on to the next one, 54 minus 54.17. That's give 0.17. Square it, 0.0289. Whoops. I only want 2 decimal place, so that would be 0.03. Then I will do the last one, 56 minus 54.17. Square it, 3.35. Whoops, I'm sorry. This would give me 1.83. Square it's going to be 3.35. Okay, so those are the first 3 steps. This is step 3. When I get to step 4, what I would do is I'm going to add everything in step 3, which is the one that I just highlight in yellow. So this is step 4. Okay, so I'm just going to add them up. So I will have 17.39 plus 0.69 plus 17.39 plus 33.99 plus 0.03 plus 3.35. The total that I get would be 72.84. So that's step number 4. I add them up. I add all of them up, and that gives me 72.84. Question for me? Okay, step number 5, I'm using what I have from step 4, which is 72.84. I'm going to divide what number I'm going to divide by. Look up here, give you a hint. It says n minus 1. In here, my n is 6. No, but this one is say n minus 1. So if my n is 6, I have to minus 1. I'm going to divide by 5, yes. So be very careful, right? So the population one, then you don't have to minus 1, but this is sample standard deviation, so you're going to minus 1. It's from here. I have 6 numbers, it's going to be 1 less. So that would get me, divide by 5, That gives me 14.568. All right, finish up this problem. What do I do? Step number 6. This is the final answer. So what do I do with that 14.568? I will take the square root, yes. So I'm taking square root 568. That give me the answer. That would be about 3 point, I want 2 decimal places. That's about 3.82. So that is the answer I'm looking for. Okay. So step 1, find the average. Step 2, find the difference. Step 3, square it. Step 4, add all the number that you just square. Step 5, divide by n, 1 less than n, so n minus 1. And then whatever the number that you got, you're going to take square root. Okay. You're going to need a calculator. You can use your phone. You can use a calculator on the computer. You're going to need one. And you're going to do some practice with that. Okay. All right. Let me see. Seems like someone asked a question. Why n minus 1? N minus 1 is when you find, this is a sample standard deviation, not the population. So I honestly don't know why it's minus 1 for the sample standard deviation. I don't have a good explanation for it. But if you're going to find sample standard deviation, then it's going to be minus 1. Yeah. I don't have a good explanation for it. If you find population standard deviation, then you don't have to minus 1. You just use the n. So yeah, sorry, I don't have good explanation for it. I just don't know why. I can look it up. I'll look it up. I'll let you guys know next class. All right, so here is the one that I want you to work on right now is that I'm going to move to the next slide. Okay. I gave you the smaller values. I list out all the steps for you, and I want you to do this one. This is your practice, okay? Go ahead and do this one. You can do it in Paradox or you do it on a piece of paper. If you do it on a piece of paper, make sure that you email me the work, okay? So go ahead and start. We are on slide 20. Go ahead and start. Feel free to ask me questions. Whoops, sorry. I will turn this to student pace. And then what I will do is that I'm going to go to the previous screen, the previous slides that can follow the step that I have. But you should work on this slide, slide 20. All right?